The Nissan Leaf. E-mobility is the future, no doubts. But can an EV car like the Leaf replace your combustion engine already now? Or is it too early? How far can you drive on one charge? What's the true performance of it? What about the so-called Rapidgate that everyone is talking about? This and a lot more, now. Question: what does the Nissan Leaf have in common with these two horses?
Well, I can tell you, we all three haven't caused even 1 gram of CO2 here in the middle of nature. Welcome to Carmania and the in-depth review of the brand new Nissan Leaf. Maybe you consider of trading your combustion engine for an e-car, maybe especially for the Nissan Leaf. And here you're going to get to know everything about e-mobility and everything about this car, just like range, charging, driving performance, what's the difference between the combustion engine and the e-car, especially with the driving behavior, and a lot more, just like the Rapidgate test that I did. You can find the link below in the description box to get to this video. And also special thanks before we get it started to Autoschlüssel, making it possible testing this car for a couple of days. Just click below in the description box and get forwarded to their website if you might be from the South German region or close to Munich and you consider of test driving it or buying it. The guys from Autoschlüssel are expecting your call. And we now start with the looks and check out what's changed to the predecessor and what you have to pay attention on.
Let's start with the headlights. These are the standard ones, halogen with an LED daylight strip. I would recommend you to take the LED headlights. The illumination is so much better at night and it also looks better. You can get them optionally in the N-connector package or as a standard in the highest trim, the Techna. Here you can see the charging slots, the CHAdeMO and the Type 2. The rims that you can see here are the 16-inch winter tires. The Leaf comes standard with 17-inch alloys. Unfortunately, there's not really a big choice of colors in Germany. Just check out the Nissan website and see the colors available. The backlights look fresh and nice, but in my opinion, they could have done more LED. As only the main light, so if you drive at night, is really LED, the rest is halogen, like in the reverse gear and the indicators. That's not really 2018 standard, same for the headlights. Even if you buy the LED headlights, the indicators are still halogen. One of the main advantages of the Nissan Leaf is the boot space, 435 liters. No EV car from this segment offers more or comparable boot space. If you skip the seats, you can extend it, but then the boot space isn't level anymore, as there is a little stoop between the basic platform and the seats, as the batteries are placed underneath the seats.
So I'm 6 foot 2 inches, 1m88. I'm not really a thin guy and I have lots of space, so I can't understand the problems, the issues with the seats that many are talking about. They're really comfortable and they're also nice looking, these fabrics. The steering wheel has no telescoping function, so you can't put it out and in, only up and down. This might cause problems depending on your size, but for me it's totally okay. I'm just putting my seat now in the right driver's position, so as you can see, I'm totally fine with it.
So let's check out the interior pros and cons. You already got to know one pro. You can sit comfortably even if you are taller. Now the pros. The build quality. Nothing to complain about. I'm coming from a BMW and still I say that it's really convincing. There is lots of hard plastic, but it doesn't look like that. Thanks to center trim, capped in a leather lookalike material with blue stitchings. Also to the Pro belongs the steering wheel. It's nice to touch it and it's nice to look at it. For example, with the flat bottom. That gives you some kind of sportiness. Also positive, we can find this leather lookalike material from the center trim in the door. The piano painted trim surrounding the gear knob of course also makes the car look more valuable from the interior. Yes, fingerprints and scratches will guide you if you're not careful enough. But nothing, no material that you push makes noises, and that's important in my eyes. Very positive is the screen, the 7-inch screen in the dashboard. The fact that it's half analog and half digital is a question of taste. But it has lots of functions and is really high resolutional. You have many EV-related menus hiding behind this, like battery temperature, range, current consumption, a timer for charging, and many other things. And that makes me talking about the bad things or the more negative things. While the 7-inch screen in the dashboard is really high resolutional and good looking, the NUF screen isn't. It looks a bit like from the last century, maybe like these TomTom navigations from 10 years ago. And that continues with the menus. But the functionality behind it is really nice. Even more EV-related menus you can find here. Also, I'm missing a live traffic info in the nav. TMC Pro isn't really the same and doesn't match the standards from 2018. But luckily, and this is the solution, you have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So connecting your phone to your system makes Google Maps accessible. And then you have live traffic, WhatsApp, and many more. The only hard plastic parts that I don't like,
This part is again that leather lookalike, just like you have it here in the trim, in the door covers. Looks valuable and nice, but why couldn't they finish it and do also this part, cover it with this leather lookalike? Because now we have a problem that it's really hard plastic, and it's not because of the looks, it's because of your arm, that you might be resting here while driving. You're gonna have a pain on your elbow just because it's hard, and yeah, that's annoying.
same for your knees. I don't understand why these side parts here are that thick. They could have been a lot slimmer. And also this angle, I don't really understand it. What they did that for? And another thing is that if we compare the Nissan Leaf to the Hyundai Ioniq maybe, there isn't so much clever solutions for storage space. Not in the doors, not in the center console, and especially not in the armrest. This is ridiculous. Maybe a key fits in, but then you have reached the limit. So if we call it a feel-good factor, I think this is at 85%. The build quality is really good, and design elements like the gear knob also. But now, let me tell you the last negative thing. It's just a small thing, but I really don't like it.
These unbelievably damn cheap lights, interior lights, is something that Nissan can really be embarrassed about. It's 2018, guys. What is this cheap shit halogen? Sorry that I say it like this, it's not just a halogen, it's also this milky plexi plastic, so that, you know, take a look at how this looks like. It's so cheap yellow, totally embarrassing. I'm just, yeah, it's, and it's not even bright. So, you know, if you take maybe comparably a Kia Sorento that I was just reviewing, there you have really bright, valuable LED lights. How much do they cost, Nissan? Just that you haven't put them in here. Really embarrassing. I mean, I'm not planning to read while I'm driving, but if you've got a colleague that you take with you maybe once, and you open the doors at night and you've got these ugly lights, it looks like a cheap car from the 80s. So this is really a thing. Please change that on the 60 kilowatt-hour battery.
But opinions about a car's interior is like a diagnosis from a doctor. You better take 2 of them. A random gentleman just came by when I was trying to check out the back seats, and with this chance, I wanted to know what he drives and what he thinks about the Nissan Leaf. Well, I find it kind of interesting, and I haven't got the chance yet to see this car from the interior. But it's really valuable, yeah, it looks nice. So, especially if we take a look at car makers from the South German region, you really have to pay additional money to get this. It's cool, truly, I really like it. By the way, this man drives a BMW, just like I did. How ironic. Well, normally I got used to putting my feet underneath the seats and you've got some iron parts here, so it's a bit difficult, but besides this, it's a really lush interior. It's comfortable. And I'm 1m80. And as I'm a bit taller than a gentleman who used to sit in here, I'm 6'2", 1m88. And I don't have these issues because I never put my feet underneath the seat, because if you have leather shoes, then you scratch the leather with some iron parts that you always have underneath the seats. I sit really comfortably. I shouldn't be so much taller because my head is almost touching the roof, but how many times do you have a 6'2" person sitting behind yourself if you're also 6'2"? So even the back seats, compliments.
What you need to know with the 150 PS and 320 Newton meters and front wheel drive, that this performance data doesn't tell you actually anything if the comparison that you can take is a combustion engine, because 150 PS is a totally different world with an e-motor or with a combustion engine, and I will show you why. Everything starts, the most important thing that you need to know is, everything starts with the immediate response of the accelerator pedal. So the same second where you just hitting the accelerator pedal, it really accelerates compared to the combustion engine. If it's a naturally aspirated combustion engine, it needs revs to reach its peak performance, and if it's a turbo or supercharger, it needs pressure for building up the power. And that's the main difference, as the Nissan Leaf doesn't need both. It's just there, look, zack, and it just accelerates. And this is the main difference and the surprising aspect about a car like the Nissan Leaf. And this is one main reason why I've chosen this car over a Hyundai Ioniq maybe, because the difference of these 30 PS really make a difference, and you can surprise the combustion engine drivers that much at a traffic light. I mean, I'm out of that age of 18, 19 where you had your first car and you were permanently accelerating at green lights, but that was a classical situation. Now the traffic light switched from green to red, and imagine just that a combustion engine is driving next to you, and you both would like to catch the green light as long as it's green, and you both are accelerating. The difference is, while he needs to watch out for the perfect gear if it's a manual transmission, or while the kickdown reacts, it's about 1 or 2 seconds that he needs compared to you, because the only thing that you do is hit the accelerator pedal and it just goes off and accelerates, and you're already gone until he has reached his comfort zone to accelerate. And that's why it seems that the Nissan Leaf is so much faster than a comparable, whatever, 200 PS car, because the response of the accelerator pedal is, so that whole thing behind the e-motor is the immediate available power is a totally different to what you got used to from a combustion engine, and that's why I say 150 PS in an e-car is comparable to 200 or 250 PS. And if you don't believe this now, then just check out what I've done, because I've tested the Nissan Leaf with the acceleration, with the GPS acceleration box as the only one until now on the internet, just to find out how fast it really goes, and I compared it to an acceleration data that I recorded a few weeks ago with a really fast hot hatch, and the Nissan Leaf performs as well as this hot hatch, which has really lots of more PS than the Nissan Leaf has. Just check it out.
What you're gonna see now is measuring the acceleration of the new Nissan Leaf. We're doing this on a totally straight street. No downhill, no uphill. My tool, a Q-Start 6000S GPS measuring box. And bear in mind, this car had winter tires on it, so it's a bit of a disadvantage. But now let's get it started. Maybe you recognized that the speedometer shows 110 where the GPS measuring box stops. This is because the faster you drive, the more the Leaf's speedometer shows. So if you drive 160 on the speedometer, it's only 144 kilometers per hour, and 68 on the speedometer is real 61 kilometers per hour. So even with the winter tires on, it almost faced the standard specifics that Nissan says, 7.9 seconds. But more interesting is to go in detail. Here you can see the acceleration times of the Nissan Leaf to 10, 20, 30, 40 kilometers per hour and so on. And this is the acceleration times that I measured with the current Golf 7 GTI Performance, a combustion engine with 245 PS. Can you see that? The acceleration time until 60 or 65 kilometers per hour is exactly the same. So this means with a Nissan Leaf and its 150 PS, you can keep up with combustion engines at green light battles up to 250 PS. That's 100 PS more than the Nissan Leaf has. So that's the evidence how much of an advantage it is to have an e-motor with that immediate reaction time.
But even if you're accelerating from about 60-70 kilometers per hour, take a look at that, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140. So as you can see, it really goes really fast and you don't even hear a thing. And that's so fascinating about it. Okay, how is the driving behavior of the Nissan Leaf? It has one disadvantage, but it has something that it balances this disadvantage with. Number one, the dampers are softer than a comparable hot hatch's dampers, and it has a front wheel drive. But that doesn't mean that you can't have driving fun. Take a look at that. The center of gravity is so low due to the batteries being placed underneath the seats that the Nissan Leaf balances the disadvantage of having front wheel drive and also this disadvantage of having softer dampers with the fact, look how fast it is. And that's really nice for curvy driving, because sometimes you may be not in a mood of just checking out how far can I get, I'm driving slow, I'm driving in eco mode. No, sometimes you want to do rumble in the jungle, and you can do this with the Nissan Leaf. And just like at the traffic lights, you can surprise many combustion engine drivers in the curves or in a roundabout, because the Nissan Leaf gives you a totally new driving experience that you haven't experienced with the combustion engine, because you have no battery there pulling the car down, causing that low center of gravity. And that really balances the fact that you have softer dampers. It's not like spongy, I don't want to say this, but compared to a hot hatch, where we found out that the Nissan Leaf plays in the league of, let me say, Golf 7 GTI Performance with the acceleration, and it can also face really nice driving performances on curvy roads, so that the combustion engine driver in a hot hatch driving behind you is going to be surprised how fast you can drive the curves, even if the car maybe looks a bit like bathtub on wheels, because it's, yeah, compared to the combustion to the hot hatch, which has stiffer dampers, it's softer, and the front wheel drive with the option for understeering is normally also a disadvantage, but the batteries balance that, and it's really lots of fun. Now, after these chapters with the driving performance and driving faster in the curves, let's talk about something intelligent again, where the main focus is on with the Nissan Leaf. It's having the biggest possible range and the best EV driving. And let's have two words about the e-pedal. The e-pedal is that so-called one-pedal driving that Nissan communicates. It's something that also the BMW i3 has. So it's nothing else than just putting a foot off the accelerator pedal and the car slows down automatically. Just like you can see me now accelerating, I decelerate. Okay, the collision warner just tells me to slow down, but the car slows down automatically and you don't need to hit the brakes. And Nissan says 90% In the all-day usage, in the all-day life, you're not going to use the brakes, and car makers claim many things, being far away from real life driving, but this is something that I can sign. So this one pedal driving works really well, and after a day of using it you get a feeling for the dosing. So if there is a red light or a car in front of you not hitting the brakes immediately, you just get the feeling after a day when you need to lift your foot off the accelerator pedal for coming to a standstill, because this is something that the e-pedal can do. So you're not using the brakes, and of course that is an advantage for the service aspect, because you have a lot less service costs anyway with an EV car than with a combustion engine. Just like you have no engine oil, no filters that you have to change permanently, and of course that's really nice to have, especially if the brake pads doesn't have to be changed that often, or to say a lot less than with the combustion engines. And it makes really lots of fun, and it also extends, and that's the main focus of the e-pedal, it extends your range, especially driving in city traffic, because as soon as you lift off your foot from just off the accelerator pedal, it wins back energy to the batteries. So that's the so-called recuperation, where it wins back energy. And I mean, in city traffic you do that quite many times, just accelerating, decelerating, accelerating, decelerating, and like this you can extend your range significantly, especially in combination with the eco mode. This is the second thing that I'd like to tell you something about. So eco mode and one pedal driving, so the e-pedal, I recommend you to use both, especially in the city traffic, but the eco mode you can also use on country roads, because it gives you range back. So if I now deactivate the eco mode, so my current range is 172 kilometers, and if I deactivate it, it's 163. So you have about 10 to 15 kilometers less range without the eco mode. The only thing that you have to know is that if you need immediate acceleration, it's different to the regular mode, because the accelerator pedal doesn't react as responsive as in a normal mode, so the acceleration goes a lot slower than in a normal mode. And if you need some immediate acceleration, so the full power available even in the eco mode, you have to floor it. So just to show it now here quickly, just imagine there is a red light or a green light turning, switching to red light. If you're flooring it, the acceleration is immediately available, but in between, so before the kick down, it's not as responsive as in a normal mode, of course, but you don't need it in the city traffic, and you have about 20 kilometers more range if you use the e-pedal and the eco mode. The other thing is, before we start the chapter with the charging, being one of the most important chapters about the e-car, is the range. How far can you really get with these cars, or with a Nissan Leaf especially? And I warn you, please, please, don't believe the crap that you can read in many forums written by people driving combustion engines, borrowing a Nissan Leaf for about 1 or 2 hours, permanently flooring it, driving 140 kilometers per hour on a highway, and then saying, hey, it has a consumption average of 20 kilowatt hours, it consumes a lot, that's not a good car. Because I can drive this car with 16.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and I'm not driving it really soft. So it's not like I was driving like a grandma. It's I'm accelerating many times. I was driving fast on the highway, 16.5 if you really drive fast, okay, 18, 19, but you can also drive it with 12.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. This is what I experienced when I had an appointment in the morning. I've been driving now around for a few days, and I had an appointment and I was driving on a country road, a little bit of city traffic, and I arrived after these 20 kilometers with 12.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and that's definitely something that you can face in the all-day use with the Nissan Leaf. So please don't believe that. 220 kilometers is what you should focus on in summertime when driving on a highway, 180 in wintertime because EV cars have less range in winter, and about 300 you can easily drive in the city traffic. Believe me, the words that I say, with the e-pedal and the eco mode in combination, you can really drive 300 kilometers, and I think that's a nice amount of range, especially for the majority of the people not driving more than 40 kilometers per day. And if you need a car facing a lot more range, then you need to buy a Tesla. But for easily 15 or 20,000 euros more, if you buy a Tesla Model 3 with all these options that the Nissan Leaf comes around with, like parking pilot, surround view camera, even if it's not the best resolution that this display offers, and even the navigation seems to be a bit from the last century, but you can use it, and the Pro Pilot, the build quality is really good, so for this price you shouldn't be expecting really more.
Oh, I almost forgot to show you one of the most important features about the Nissan Leaf, the Pro Pilot. We also have emergency city braking, blind spot warning in the side mirrors, and as a main focus, the Pro Pilot. It works really well, gives you comfortable driving on a highway, you are a lot more relaxed, and it works better than in the Hyundai Ioniq maybe. But the thing is that you have to touch the steering wheel every 10 seconds, as you can see me touching it with my thumb. Luckily, it's enough to do it with your thumb, you don't need to shake the steering wheel. But what is the supported steering for if I have to touch it every 10 seconds? Okay, they say this is just supported steering, and anyway, you should have your hands on the steering wheel permanently. But then I ask back, without now talking about the security aspect, what is it for if I have to have my hands permanently on a steering wheel? I can steer by myself. So maybe they could have done, let me say, 20 seconds, and that would gain the comfort of this Pro Pilot driving. That's only a thing in general about this autonomous driving stuff. If you want to see the chapter with the charging, just click on top right now and get forwarded to the next video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video by giving a thumb up.